So Diego Lopes and Lerone Murphy have been rumored to fight at UFC 324, the first Paramount card in January, and I think this is a good fight to make. If this is true, this is a good fight to make. This will mean that Lerone Murphy's not next in line for a UFC title shot. A lot of us thought he was going to be next because, circumstance-wise, Movsar Evloev was not going to get the shot. He pulled out of the Pico fight, and the UFC just does not like Movsar, so I don't think they were going to do him any favors and give him the title shot next. So, like, circumstance wise, we thought Murphy was going to be next because, out of everyone in like the top, Murphy just seemed like the most deserving at the time. But, yeah, if this fight happens, he's not going to get the next title shot. And this leaves the question, what's going to happen to Alexander Volkanovski next? I'll talk about that later on in the video of what will happen to him, like who will he fight next, who should he fight next, what will happen in the future for him. But yeah, Diego Lopes and Lerone Murphy. I think this is a good fight for Lerone Murphy to have because, to solidify himself for getting a title shot because his last wins were Aaron Pico, Dan Ige, and Josh Emmett. Those were good wins, but I think Lerone Murphy needs someone in the top five, someone like Diego Lopes to finally solidify himself to get a UFC title shot. I got Diego Lopes winning this fight by a round 1 TKO. Lerone Murphy is very good. I think he's one of the most underrated fighters in the UFC. Undefeated for a reason. He's very good. But I think Diego Lopes's pressure will just get to him. We saw how Lerone Murphy was dealing with Pico's pressure in round 1. Didn't seem like he was dealing with it too well until the spinning elbow that he landed on Pico. Good knockout, by the way, by Lerone Murphy. That was a great knockout. But, when I look back at that fight, Lerone Murphy didn't look too good in the beginning. Pico's pressure looked like he was just getting to him. And we've seen Lerone Murphy get dropped and tagged by like Dan Ige, and he can get touched, he can get dropped, and I think he's been also in danger in like other fights of his too. He's had some tricky situations, and I just think someone like Diego Lopes will be able to get to him and be his first loss. Lopez's pressure, I think, is unmatched. Lopes always tries to pressure his opponents and make it a war and try to finish them quickly. And like Lerone Murphy, like the way he'd probably win this fight is, due to Lopez's chin being open, he'd catch him with some good shots, and because Murphy is a really good striker, but I don't think it won't do anything to Lopez because Gene Silva, we saw him like throw big KO blows, like KO blowing shots on Lopez's chin, and Lopez was just eating them, like not even phased, not even wobbled, for God's sakes. He wasn't even wobbled. And Gene Silva is probably one of the best KO artists in the UFC right now, and especially in the featherweight division. He literally, I think 4 out of his 5 last opponents before the Lopez fight were by KO, besides the Bryce Mitchell fight, which he won by submission. Even then, he still dropped him. And Diego Lopez is just eating his shots. And I think that one advantage that Murphy has in that fight of landing big shots on Diego Lopez. And we've seen Murphy KO people too. Early in his UFC career, I think he had a couple good knockouts. Mainly goes to decision a lot, but I've seen Murphy have some good KOs. But I don't think he'll be able to do that to Diego Lopez. I think Diego Lopez's pressure will get to Lerone Murphy, and I think he'll TKO him at the end of round 1. Even if it goes to the ground, I think Diego Lopez's level's above Lerone Murphy when it comes to the ground game. And yeah, Lerone Murphy is still very good. Don't get me wrong. Can't fully count him out in this fight. But, putting all these factors into it, I just think Diego Lopes would beat Lerone Murphy, and I got him by round 1 late TKO. So yeah, what's gonna happen to Alexander Volkanovski next? What's gonna happen to him next? Alexander Volkanovski, um, if Diego Lopes and Lerone Murphy happens next, he's not gonna want to wait for them to heal up after, because that fight would probably be a war. I'm not gonna lie with you. They're definitely not gonna come out with no scratches on them, unless Lopez could wrap it up early. And yeah, if he doesn't, I don't think he wants them to. I don't think he wants to wait for them to heal up. And because Alexander Volkanovski wants to fight. We've literally seen him when he won back the belt against Diego Lopez after having a war with him. Volkanovski did not leave that fight untouched. he was talking about fighting in July, and if he won in July, he'd love to fight in September. There's not a problem with Volkanovski fighting. It's just the UFC's not giving the contenders the title shot. And he wants to fight. He doesn't care who it is. He wanted the Movsar fight. Movsar did not get the title fight. He wanted the Lerone Murphy fight. We don't know what's gonna happen. Seems like he'll be fighting Diego Lopes next. And Alexander Volkanovski, he wants to fight. He's that guy. He'll fight. He doesn't care who it is. He'll fight them anywhere, anytime. But what I think the UFC is gonna do, they're probably gonna match him up against one of these two. It's either gonna be Yair Rodriguez or Movsar Evloev. So out of the two, it hurt. I can't even believe I'm even saying this, but out of the two, it probably would be Yair Rodriguez. Like I said, the UFC does not like Movsar Evloev, even though he should be next in. Like, he shouldn't even have gotten the Aaron Pico fight, in my opinion. He should have been next in line for a title fight. He has wins over Diego Lopes, Arnold Allen, and Aljamain Sterling, but they gave him the Aaron Pico fight, but I think he should have been next. I think Movsar Evloev, I think wins wise in the division, he is most deserving. He is most deserving in this division, but the UFC doesn't like him, and yeah, it seems like he probably will not get the next title shot next. They're probably going to give it to Yair Rodriguez, which really pains me to say because, God, Yair Rodriguez, man, his last like he's coming off a Patricio Pitbull win, who wasn't even ranked. He's coming in from Bellator. Big deal. At the time, it was a big deal because Pitbull, this monster from Bellator, he's coming in, and Yair Rodriguez had kind of like a dull win against him. It wasn't the most exciting fight. But yeah, Yair, before that Pitbull win, though, he lost to Brian Ortega by submission. He lost to Volkanovski already. Volkanovski just broke him throughout the fight and then TKO'd him in round 3 by ground and pound shots. And before that, his last win in the top 5 was Josh Emmett. It was Josh Emmett. And yeah, Yair Rodriguez, like I said, his last top 5 win was Josh Emmett. Josh Emmett's not even in the top 5 anymore. He's gonna get it. I don't want it. Even though I don't a lot of people do not want him getting a title shot, it's probably gonna happen next, and it really hurts me to say it. And it happens a lot. It seems like nowadays the fighters who work their butts off and win and beat all the top contenders, they just get skipped over for a title shot, while the guy who just has one win, who has against someone way lower ranked than them, and then just sits out for a year, and then they get a title shot, which is basically Yair Rodriguez. Because after the Pitbull fight, they were trying to make a Diego Lopes fight. He said no because he wanted that featherweight title shot next. And yeah, he denied the Diego Lopes fight, and he said, I want the title shot next. He does not deserve it at all. I hope to God they don't give it to him. They should put him up against Arnold Allen, in my opinion. They should put him up against Arnold Allen. That fight has not happened yet. And Arnold Allen is coming off a win against Giga Shikadze. And I want Arnold Allen to fight someone up in the rankings. They might, not gonna lie, they might do Arnold Allen versus Aljamain Sterling probably next. But I'd like to see Yair Rodriguez versus Arnold Allen. I think that would be a good fight to make. Because Yair just does not deserve another title shot, man. Especially the way he lost. It wasn't like oh yeah, what a close fight he had with Volk. What a war. Razor close fight. Volk just schooled him. There's no interest in a Yair Rodriguez rematch. Come on. Really think about it. Does anyone really have interest for a Volkanovski Yair Rodriguez rematch? No, they don't. Match him up with Arnold Allen. Make him win 2 or 3 more fights to get even sniff a shot. But yeah, Movsar Evloev should be the next one in line. I think out of these two, he definitely should be next for the title shot because, first off, Movsar Evloev, I get he doesn't get any finishes. He's a decision machine. His fights are not all that bad though. They make Movsar sound like he's the most boring fighter alive. The Aljamain Sterling fight was not boring. It was just pure grappling, but it was one of the most exciting grappling fights in the UFC I've ever seen. The Arnold Allen fight, wasn't, like, again, not a barn burner. Wasn't the best fight. I'm not saying Movsar is the most exciting fighter. He's not. But that fight wasn't bad. It was a good fight. It was a good fight. And him and the Diego Lopes fight, I think that got fight of the night. Even though, it's Diego Lopes, he's probably going to be the reason why it gets fight of the night. He's the one always going for wars. Still, though, Movsar was a part of that fight, and it got fight of the night. Movsar isn't all that bad. He really is not. He really is not all that bad. Just I think because he doesn't get finishes, which makes fans like claim him to be like a really boring fighter. But from what I've seen by Movsar Evloev, he's not boring. And I think him versus Volkanovski, that fight would probably be the most interesting fight to happen in the UFC featherweight division right now. There's a lot of questions on how that fight would go. No one was really that like of course people were saying Lerone Murphy was probably going to be next for the title shot, but not a lot of people were talking about like, oh, I wonder how Murphy and Volk would have gone. I wonder how Volk and Yair Rodriguez too would have gone. The only other most interesting matchup that probably would have happened was him versus Gene Silva, Volk versus Gene Silva, but Gene Silva did lose to Diego Lopes. But I think the most interesting fight to make for Volkanovski is the Movsar Evloev fight. He's undefeated, and he has the best wins in the featherweight division so far. Win over Lopez, win over Allen, win over Sterling. And, if Yair does get the shot over him, that's very unfair. And it's really dumb to me. I actually think Movsar and Volk would do more numbers. It's a more interesting matchup. And yeah, I think it'd just be a better fight. I really would more interesting fight than a Yair rematch or a Lerone Murphy fight. Movsar is not all that bad. The fans make him sound like he's like the worst fighter to ever step in the octagon entertainment wise. I get it. He's not the most exciting. Doesn't have the most exciting style, but it's not that bad. It's not that bad. Like Marab goes to decisions a lot, but it turns out Marab ain't all that bad. He's pretty entertaining. Not the most exciting, obviously, but he's pretty entertaining. And Movsar ain't all that bad either. But yeah, I hope it's not Yair Rodriguez next out of these two. Hopefully it's Movsar Evloev. And that'll be the end of my video, guys, today. Hope you guys enjoyed. Please like and subscribe. Peace out. Have a good day, guys.